Most contemporary OBE authors incorporate a rather eclectic mix of influences in trying to reach an understanding of the OBE experience. William Bowman, for example, relates non-physical dimensions to quantum theory rather than various densities of matter as proposed by the Theosophists. Others like Robert Bruce, while still strongly associated with occult and mystical traditions, have attempted to make these concepts more understandable to the general public using more modern-day language. Ultimately, however, the current popularity of the OBE as well as the widening gap between contemporary and occult traditions has to be credited to Robert Monroe, and then the rest of this part of the chapter is basically all about Monroe, which, as I stated before, was a really cool read for me because before picking up this book, I really knew nothing about the guy, so I'll just go through some of my highlights I have here. Monroe made a valiant attempt to distance himself from occult and mystical notions surrounding the OBE. He wanted to demystify the experience. Then he talks about how he would, how he didn't use the term astral projection. Instead, him, along with like another guy or two, really popularized the term OBE instead. Then he goes into some of his books and talks about how his first book mostly occurred in like the physical world and was about him like trying to find proof of his experiences, visiting his neighbors or doing whatever. In his second book, he seems to describe more experiences that seem to occur elsewhere. He identifies different non-physical energy systems that are structured as layered rings surrounding Earth's atmosphere, inhabited by people both living and dead. And now, for me, when I read something like that, I just can't help it. It makes me want to pump the brakes on it right there and be like, what? But after getting past that and keep on going through some of his stuff, then it kind of makes more sense. He just, he was really into the afterlife, right? So, that's cool. In his last book, Monroe no longer speaks in terms of something leaving the body. Instead, he emphasizes the relatively uneventful transition into the out-of-body state, likening it to the process of falling asleep and the fading of sensorial input. So, of course, something like that sounds on the money to me personally. After that, it goes into his the focus levels of consciousness, and he has these different focus, like focus 10, focus level 28 plus. So we'll get into all of that in the next video. I just wanted to wrap this one up with a couple more things. Most crucially, due to his work, no longer is the OBE understood in terms of a complicated, almost mechanical interaction between various subtle bodies and various densities of matter. Rather, you are journeying through consciousness itself, and that, to me, sounds beautiful.